Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation. Know yourself interchangeable. So, this is a Sunday show, which is it ended up because normally I don't do shows on Sunday, but of course there was no HoGaLe yesterday. Now you guys would have seen in the postings, and thanks for your messages and stuff like that, by the way. And I just had yesterday was one of my most, that is the most delayed I've ever been in my whole life. So how did yesterday start? Really nice day, out with friends. We went down to the coast. So it was myself, it was Esther, Ike, and Paolo, my old King's Place crew that I used to work with, and I'm basically pretty much in touch with all of my old King's Place. Too long to list everyone's names, but you know who you are. Anyway, so we decided that we wanted to have a day trip down to Brighton months ago. Yeah, so we tried to meet up, but it was like over a year since we last met. Anyway, went down to Brighton, had a lovely time. Decided it was time to start going back home because, of course, every Saturday as well, I do HoGaLe. And as you know, the show goes up at midnight UK time. So we started making our way back around about 8:30 p.m. This gives plenty of time, yeah? 3.5 hours. And anyway, we start making our way back, and you would have seen the post. And sadly, tragically, someone was hit by one of the trains between and it was between Gatwick Airport and Purley, which is just in between Croydon, which is one of the main kind of split off points to all the different points in London. And everything was just horrendously delayed. Rumors of that it was a suicide. There were rumors that it was, but we don't know. We didn't get any more details than that. But someone was hit by a train, and you can imagine, human body against a train stands no chance. And eventually they actually shut. So we were stuck at Gatwick Airport station because that's one of the main routes on the way to Brighton, the coast. And we were stuck at Gatwick, and then they decided to close the station. They shut down the station. I've never had that happen before. To get an Uber out of the place would have cost £167, which is getting close to almost $200. You can imagine, to go from the airport to London. Not if that wasn't even home, so there was that. I tried to book I thought, right, okay, I'll book myself in a hotel and I can do the show from free internet from a hotel. All booked out. All of the coaches home were booked. Every single it was like universe just said no on every single aspect. So I said to my friends, look, let's just go back to the airport. Let's just get some food, some drinks, and just chill out and just wait. And eventually we're able to get an Uber around about 1:30 a.m. in the morning. Got back into London around about 2 something in the morning or later. Said goodbyes to everyone, and everyone, we all went our different ways. I couldn't get a bus. Cycled home. Had to use a rental cycle bus to get home. Cycle bike to get home. Got to the bike station that's just outside of where I live. And that was all full. So I had to cycle to the other side of the park, dock there, and walk all the way back. And by the time I got back, it was like 4:15 a.m. Horrendous. So you can imagine, I'm still really tired. I'm exhausted. However, such as I am, because I've got work to do and books to write, I managed to drag myself out of bed after about 5 hours sleep, 4 or 5 hours sleep. Take myself to the local cafe, get some breakfast, and then I finished off a chapter. Yeah, I finished off a chapter. So I've only got 2 chapters left to go with the book. I'm now writing about Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Oh my God, just you wait, folks. And once the first draft is completed and it's almost done, I'm going to find a way to share it with you guys. There's many of you have already said that you want to read it or whatever. Read the book, the astrology book, and then I'll probably attach it with a questionnaire as well, and you can give me feedback of how it could be improved, what you would like to see, maybe things that I might have overlooked, etc., and stuff like that. So I'm very, very excited. And the book is coming along nicely, and I think it will definitely be done in the next 2 weeks. I might just literally just push out the last bits, but let's just say definitely in the next 2 weeks for sure. Might even be in the next week. But anyway, so what I've decided to do, and of course as well, apologies for having to cancel the show yesterday, but as you can see, it was completely and totally out of my hands. It was literally a tragedy. That was someone's family member or, you know, spouse, partner who is sadly no longer here. And there's nothing you can do about things like that. Literally, yeah, I mean, there needs to be more than one train track into London. There were different ways, but one had to go to extraordinary lengths to kind of get around it. But anyway, so what I've done is I've taken the questions that you guys had for the show, and I'm going to cover them tonight in this show. Of course, it will just be myself, and of course the two ladies. You'll see them again. You'll see Lady G and of course Lena next week. But I'm going to go through your questions and do as many of them as I can. Obviously, I cannot make up for my two dynamic companions who join me on the show, but I will do the best that I can. So what am I going to cover in this show? So obviously we're going to talk a bit about France. Yeah, we're going to be talking about France. We're going to be talking about greedflation, which is something, a new term that I've just heard about. We're going to be talking, of course, about Dr. Larange and some of the things. We might even be talking about the justices, Elon, and stuff like that. So before I continue, please don't forget to like and subscribe and press the bell notification. So it really helps the channel, and I really appreciate your support and stuff like that. It really makes it worth all the hard work and all the effort, and that's why I really wanted to put on a show today, even though I'm tired. I'm just like, no, I've got to cover some of these topics, particularly as we see the news is just extraordinary at the moment. So I really appreciate the support, and of course if you're entertained, you know, by my shows and stuff like that, then of course I appreciate you subscribing. We've even got some Brexit questions in there as well. Some special mentions that I want to just put in here, because these were some things that I was compiling through the week anyway, and then your questions are here, and as you can see, as usual, I get them all marked up. So one of the things that I found very interesting was a story out of Maryland, and they were talking about Bidenomics. You know, you got that guy there. He's the first, black governor of in the United States, whatever. Seems like a really, really intelligent guy. And anyway, so they're talking about Bidenomics. So he's saying at the moment they've only got 2.4% of unemployment in Maryland only. I mean, that's extraordinarily low, very low. So obviously they're getting things right there. And he was talking about Bidenomics and stuff like that, but he was also talking about the frustration, because there is still the perception that the Biden administration is not good with the economy. Now, we know there's lots of bits and bobs and stuff like that going on, but obviously he's passed a lot of very positive things potentially as well for the economy, and it's going to take a little while for all of that kind of stuff to kick in. But we will have to see how the dynamics go, because remember, we've got a lot of retrograde planets coming up. Saturn and Pluto are already retrograde. Venus will be going retrograde in July. Neptune will be also going retrograde in July as well. And by the time we hit sort of like September 4th, we're going to have 6 planets retrograde. Technically, Venus would have stopped being retrograde at that point, but it literally Jupiter goes retrograde, she goes direct, but really she's not moving at all. So you can really still count Venus as retrograde at that point, because she wouldn't have, her backward motion essentially would have just stopped. That's a lot of planets. Yeah, that's a lot of planets that go retrograde. So think how that can also affect certain things to do with global economy, etc., and all of these different things. So I wanted to mention that. So the biodynamics is certainly working for Maryland and other places, but the message may not necessarily be cutting through, which is a bit of a frustration, isn't it? Another thing as well, do you remember I mentioned as well about property? And I said, look, when Mars is debilitated, so he's debilitated in the sign of sidereal Cancer, and he's just come out of his debilitation and he's gone into Leo. But remember, Mars deals with land and real estate. And do you remember I said, look, there's going to be something that will happen with real estate. We might see changes in real estate or big news about it. So I was watching Young Turks, and I know many of you watch Young Turks as well, and other alternative news channels, which is good, because what it does is it means that the mainstream media has to start paying more attention to some of the more pertinent subjects and depths that we can go into here as independent sources of news, shall we say. Now, of course, I'm not delivering news. As you know, I'm commenting on the news with the esoteric slant, but also as well predicting the future in terms of where the planets are going and stuff like that. Now, on Young Turks, they just mentioned a crisis within Airbnb, at least in the USA. So it's saying here people may have to sell second income homes, yeah, but it could help out. It could help out, obviously, people trying to get on the ladder. Now, one of the things that they spoke about, I've got to remember the details off my head. So at the moment, apparently there are 4.4 million people in America, or there or thereabouts, looking to have property. And the supply or something like that, they say that is available, is, a million or so, or what have you. However, what Young Turks looked at with their story, they looked at how many properties were unoccupied or only partially occupied because they were seasonal properties on Airbnb. And that number was 12 million. Wow. Yeah. 12. That means there's 12 million properties either unoccupied or underoccupied. And part of this, of course, is, the Airbnb thing, which it clearly is got completely out of control. And there should have been some controls on that. Look, I'm not a second homeowner or anything like that, but I'm sure many people have and want a passive income, etc., and stuff like that. So in a way, there are enough houses for everyone. What they're saying is a lot of people may have to sell. And of course, it's the supply and demand, and when a lot of people start selling, then of course there's more supply, and then the house prices could come down. So that could be how that debilitation of Mars manifested. Yeah, I think that is it, because that is consistent, because I was expecting something like that, and with the timing of when the story came out, while Mars was still debilitated. So I thought you guys might find that interesting. But let's see how the cycle develops as more and more planets become retrograde, which means what? Review, revise, reassess, recalibrate, everything. Yeah, so you can imagine by September, I mean, there's going to be some big major event. We'll have to see what it is, but it could be something epic. Yeah, particularly as July starts to hot up, but certainly, by August and then September, with those 6 planets retrograde and Venus basically standing still. Wow. Yeah, it's going to be, what is it? It's going to be Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, and Mercury retrograde, and then Venus standing still. So you could really call it 7. Anyway, let's talk about France. Let's talk about France. So the question that's coming here. So Nicola McClafferty, you know who you are. Thank you so much for your questions. And I was going to ask about France as well. Anyway, so she asks, what will be the outcome of the rioting France caused by police shooting a teenager? So, oh, crumbs, his name's just got out of my head. But for those that don't know, a 17-year-old teenager who's driving a car was stopped by the police in one of the districts in France for whatever. They pulled him over for a traffic thing, and this kid ended up being shot dead. Can you believe it? Shot dead. This, of course, has triggered a huge amounts of riots, violence, looting, the whole shebang. And I've been watching various different kind of bits and bobs, and they've been showing where all the breakouts have been all over France. So there's a tremendous amount of discontent in France. Now, we know that the French are not afraid to riot and protest and make their views known. But this is really quite something. Lots of burnt out cars. I think the mayor's wife, they attacked them, one of the local mayor's wife, local mayor's house, and the wife had to flee with the kids. She got injured and all this kind of stuff. So it's really, really getting cray. Now, do you remember? Well, you may not remember because the video was a long time ago. France presidential elections last year. Remember, I did Macron versus Marine Le Pen, and I said there's going to be something coming up for Macron where he's going to have to deal with a lot of rioting, discontent, and all of these difficulties and stuff, because he's having his Uranus opposition, which a lot of people do have when they're in their mid to later 40s. So I think this is it. Yeah, this is the big, I mean, it's been simmering and bubbling for a while anyway, but I think a lot of people are very, very upset by a lot of things in France, and this is like another ignition, because it's just outrageous. And so young, 17 years old, and you are shot dead at the traffic lights. And then like he drove off and then basically died. It's just horrific. They've said that the police officer is going to be charged with murder or something like that. But this has obviously caught fire, and I think now the grandmother is saying for the rioting to stop. But we'll have to see what happens. So, so France, sorry, where's good? So I put here, how will it impact on Macron's presidency, which is also what essentially Nicolette is asking. So let me just get my tarot. And I wonder, let me just see if I can get Macron's chart up. I think I've got his chart. I'm going to get his chart up and we can have a little look, see what's going on. And Macron has been doing some very questionable things. You remember he basically raised the retirement age in France. I mean, that was the previous riots and stuff. From 62 to 64, I think it is, another couple of years. I think in America, I think it's 67, isn't it? Where, wow. Now, let's just have a little look-see. To file, open, and see if I can get up Macron's chart and see what's going on with him. Oh, my computer's doing its thing. I need to, oh God, I need to restart this computer. It's just dreadful. Anyway, right, Macron. How will these, ooh, look at that. How will these riots affect Macron? We see here the card that fell out, Two of Pentacles, literally trying to juggle the situation, maybe even manipulate the situation a little bit. He said, no violence will go unpunished, says Macron. So we'll have to see about that. But the card that fell out was the Two of Pentacles, which we understand is adjustments, trying to sort different things out. Oh, come on, computer. My computer's just being absolutely ridiculous. Just getting my charts up. Anyway, right, let me just pull 5 cards to see the situation in France. Wow, world is literally on fire. But you remember I said people will be, in my predictions, I said people will be fighting for their rights. I said governments will introduce new rules and regulations, particularly connected with tech, that people probably aren't going to like. Yeah, so if you go back and look back at the, if you look at my predictions list, probably have it play afterwards, you'll see I clearly said when Saturn went into Sidereal Aquarius on the 17th of January 2023, that all of these things will become a theme, and things to do with the sky and outer space. More alien sightings. Did you see the ones over Ohio? Oh my God, literally the 5 orbs spinning around like that, and then they went. Psh. They've not been able to debunk this one. They've not been able to debunk it. I mean, you could just see where it was. Oh my gosh. Oh. Well. Let's get Macron's charts to see how these cards that I've got. My God, these are not looking great. Let's find Macron in my politics. Macron. Oh God, what have I listed him under? I'm sure I've got his chart. What did I call him? Politics, Vladimir, GOP, Democrat, Steve Bannon, Trayton, Sydney, Giuliani, President Zelensky, President Narendra Modi. Oh God, where Michelle Obama, Melania. Oh my God, I've got everyone here except Macron. Joe Manchin. Here we are, Emmanuel Macron. I used his first name. I couldn't remember it. So that would be a bit weird. All right, these are the cards for Macron, and I'm just looking at his chart. Oh, goodness. No wonder he's having such a challenging time. Okay, when I look here, President Macron's chart, his moon is in sidereal Aries. Now, do you remember where I was talking about, but have been, remember I've been talking about the eclipses in my HoGaLe eclipse calculator. Remember, the eclipses are happening here. Sidereal Aries, sidereal Libra. Now, remember, anytime a person has a planet or planets in the axes where the eclipses are happening, they get strongly triggered by the eclipse. And when I look at Macron's chart, the moon is in Aries at 20 degrees 55 minutes with Chiron, the wounded healer. The moon is the mind, the emotions, how we feel about things, how we respond to things. But guess what? He also, in Libra, in the opposite sign, he has Uranus at 21 degrees 16 minutes of the nakshatra called Vishaka. And his moon is in Bharani nakshatra, which is in the middle of Aries. So the eclipses are falling right there. No wonder he's having so much heat and difficulties and stuff like that. Also as well, by transit, he's very much still in that orb of the Uranus halfway point. Now his Uranus is at 21 degrees 16 minutes, and transiting Uranus is at 27 degrees 36 minutes. So it's not an exact opposition. Transiting Uranus has moved a bit, but guess what? He's going to be retrograde as well. So this suggests that things are going to intensify even more for Macron, because the eclipses are still there. The eclipses, we've got another eclipse season coming up in the fall. So let me actually just check on the back of my calculator. So you see, look, I've made some notes here. So let's see here. So to start off the eclipse season, we had the solar eclipse on April 20th, and then the lunar eclipse on May 5th, May 5th to 6th, 2023. But then we go back into the solar eclipses on October 14th, which is this is going to be an annular eclipse, and the lunar eclipse will follow 2 weeks later on October the 28th. So that means Macron, the eclipses are going to hit his moon and Uranus again. Remember, Uranus is what? Sudden shocks and surprises, liberation, rioting, stuff like that. We see how it's planning out. Now look at the cards. The Tower. I was saying, how's this going to play out for Macron? So remember, the card that fell out was him. This is him doing the juggling act, trying to balance things as the stormy waters are in process. He needs to look presidential. He has to try and make the right sounds and the right noises while the bedlam is going on. But look, he gets the Tower card. So you can see this is literally what's happening right now. France is burning down. There's riots, people dying. Obviously, the young man was shot dead. All of that stuff, and he was of North African descent as well. You can see this is literally what's unfolding right now. And if you look here as well, you see the crown gets toppled. Yeah, the crown deals with leaders. So this is a very threatening situation actually for Macron. And then, as I was talking about with the eclipses, this isn't going to go away anytime soon. It might ease off a little bit, but then the eclipses will trigger it again. Here he is here, worried. He really is worried about this because, look, France needs to address this. Look, every country has its issues with prejudice and racism and all that kind of stuff. We all know, of course, George Floyd and so many egregious things that happen around the world. But the police in France have been criticized for a long time for this being very heavy-handed and being nakedly racist. So look, this is obviously a thing that's kind of keeping him up at night. But look here, the devil card comes up. My goodness. So the devil card deals with addictions, with vices, with codependency, shady dealings, machinations of all kinds, manipulation and control agendas. So when we're looking at this, obviously it shows here Macron is worried about, could this be the darkness and the corruption within the police? But this could also speak as well, maybe to in regards to his attachments and some of the things and the vices that are going on in his life, because there's going to be more that's going to come out about Macron. Do you remember I said there might even be things about his sexuality and stuff? Because when I've looked at his chart, there's certain things that I've seen. I can't go into too much detail. But the point is, because we're talking about Macron, and this has come in the middle of the reading, it's showing that there's a lot of things to do with corruption, vices, dark modus operandi going on. Yeah, can Macron be trusted? Because they're rioting all over the country, not just in the area where the incident happened, all over the country. So there's more that the French are worried about in regards to his leadership. If we look here, we have got the Page of Wands. Now, of course, pages are all about messages, but the Page of Wands deals with, with the youth. Yeah, this is the young students, the young people uprising. And wands also deal with the element of what? Fire. Yeah, they're burning the place down. Yeah, burning everything down. Look at the outcome. Oh dear. That does not look good at all. Yeah, it's the Five of Pentacles. So this also speaks as well how people within France, particularly of certain ethnic backgrounds, have just feel shut out and out in the cold. Yeah, in the church in there, it's all nice and warm. Yeah, they're all nice and warm in the church and they're all there in the congregation. But these are all these people feeling shut out. Yeah, shut out of society. But because this is also talking as well about Macron's presidency and stuff like that, that is not a great outcome card to have. So we're going to have to see what the eclipses bring. He's going to be tested even more, and there'll be even more tests in that eclipse season in October. Remember as well, we're going to be having lots of planets retrograde at the same time. Mercury retrograde, let's see how long is Mercury retrograde for. Yeah, Mercury's going to be retrograde from August 23rd to September 15th. So he'll be going direct by the time the eclipses have come, but there's still going to be so many planets retrograde and all that stuff. So more to come with that one. I think Macron is in some tricky scenarios. He's going to keep trying to do his balancing act. But when you think we've got the Tower, anxiety, corruption, disaffected youth, and poverty, yeah? People are fighting against poverty and social exclusion. And if his presidency is to survive, he's going to have to rebalance, recalibrate everything. He's going to have to address the devil, yeah, the dark parts of society, not only in society, but also himself, yeah, also himself. Will he triumph over his demons? We shall have to see. But with those outcome cards, I think it's looking a bit dicey. So that's France. Let me just scribble off this part here. Now we're going to go to USA. I'm going to take my little esoteric aeroplane and we're going to go there. So this question's come in. So Elisa Cornish, thank you so much, Elisa, for your question. So she says, hi, Hogarth. Economist Robert Reich And several others have said we're experiencing greedflation rather than inflation. Would the Democratic Party improve its chances of winning races during the 2024 election cycle if it consistently utilized this term in their campaign ads and speeches? Interessante. Thank you so much for that one, Lisa. There you are there. As you can see, I printed out your question. There you are, made my notes. Let's have a little look-see. Let's have a little look-see, because, you know, this is a tricky one. Look, let's get real, yeah? Let's get real about the state of politics globally today, particularly the state of politics in America. It costs huge sums of money, yeah, to run these campaigns, blah, blah, blah. The whole system is funded by donations, yeah, from companies, from people, etc., and stuff like that. And now when we see unlimited levels of donations to, you know, the GOP, possible because of, you know, what is it, Citizens United and all this kind of bull crap that they're kind of doing, more and more money is awash, which means the powerful have more and more influence over politics. Now, remember, I'm doing my mini-series on Wednesday where I'm looking at the transits. So the next one coming up, I'm going to look at that. But one of the films, when I conclude my little mini-series of these retrogrades and stuff, is a film by Noam Chomsky, of course, famous intellectual and academic and stuff like that, campaigner in America. And this film is one of the most succinct that I've seen, which describes pretty much how that top 1% operate and how they keep changing the rules in their favor. So on my personal response is, yes, I do hope they talk about greedflation, but it's very difficult for a lot of the political parties to talk about greed because, of course, they're donors. But anyway, let's answer it. So I'll just read it one more time. Economist Robert Reich and several others have said that we're experiencing greedflation rather than inflation. Would the Democratic Party improve its chances of winning races during the 2024 election cycle if it consistently utilized this term in their campaign ads and speeches? Great question. Let's see what the cards have to say. Let's have a little look. All right. What do the cards have to say in regards to the question? The Dems, are they going to talk about greed? Which, of course, is nakedly obvious to everyone now. It's just like, oh my God. You know, the director of that film, you know, that starred Michael Douglas, where the slogan was greed is good. He said he regrets that film because he said that film just ignited the psyche of the city and the speculators, and he said it's not been the same since. They literally took that message to heart. Well, all right, here we go. So in regards to the question, are they going to mention this more? Remains to be seen. That we've got the High Priestess here, and we know this is talking about the machinations of politics, yeah? This is talking about, for me, the dilemma that political parties have in regards to the people that fund them, yeah? Because they, remember what the old saying is, he who pays the piper gets to call the tunes, yeah? 'Twas ever thus, yeah? This is not a new concept, yeah? So this is a conundrum for the Biden administration and the Democrats in terms of the machinations behind the scenes. You know, you've got people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders that are really wanting to kind of clean house and do all of this kind of stuff. But as we know, unfortunately, not everyone in the Dems is like that. And these are some of the characters that you're dealing with. Look at this. Same card that comes up, what normally comes up for the GOP. But what is this? This is the donors, the funding, yeah, the big money. This is the only card that depicts all three generations. You got the grandfather, you got the kids, and you got the kids, his children and his grandchildren dancing with the dogs there and stuff like that. So this deals with legacies, big money, yeah, big companies, that kind of thing. And it's turned up in the obstacle position. So it goes to show, just like what I said, the obstacle is the donors themselves. Because of course, if they're getting to skew everything in the direction that they want life to be in, because remember, everything's getting more expensive for everyone else, and there were so many billionaires created over that lockdown period. I think it was like each week it was like another 50 got added. It was just astonishing. So here we see there's the dilemma, there's the machinations, what to do, the behind the scenes negotiations in regards to what? Funding, donors, yeah? We look here in the middle, messages here, pages, another page has turned up, but this time it's Page of Pentacles, talking again about what? The money, the finances, the values. Maybe there could be some announcement on this because after all, pages do deal with messages, and this could be a financial message. So it could be the case that the Dems may talk about this or have messages around, well, they need to talk about the economy, obviously, messages around the economy and stuff like that. But will it necessarily be calling out the greedflation? We will have to see. We will have to see because it's the donors here. They're in that obstacle position. So I hope they go for it. They may say it, but they may not say it very loud. Next card, Chariot in reverse. Now this is a little bit ominous because obviously when the Chariot's the right way, this means thrusting forward with energy and pizzazz and getting stuff done, going forward with energy and optimism and power, yeah? But it's reversed. Now this can actually mean a bad business decision, stuff like that. It's not the obvious, obviously, ones is things get slowed up. It's almost like someone slashes the tires and it's like, when the car goes along and it's like, gudum, 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 because one of the tires is flat. So here, there is a flat tire here. So the way I'm interpreting this, there could be machinations by donors that want to squash messages around money, greed and money, because it's not in their interest. And they might try and derail or discredit these economists that are coming out with this stuff. But everyone has to use their own common sense. However, look at this. The outcome card here is the Ace of Wands. So again, this talks about fertile new beginnings, yeah? This deals with inspiration, new ideas going forth. It's also a very virile symbol as well, but if you look here as well, the leaves are growing. So it could be after an initial delay in regards to messaging or maybe some setbacks, maybe it could be that the idea catches on. Maybe the idea catches on and then people start talking a bit more about greedflation because this is what we need to talk about. And because what's happening is the top 1% are trying to stitch everyone and everything to their bidding and how they want. It's not just the douchebags that are, supporting, the GOP and all of that kind of stuff. You see it with these big economic forums and stuff like that. I can't name them specifically by name because, as we know, all of YouTube is monitored, but you don't have to be a rocket science to work out, how certain elites, look at that, are trying to get things their own way. This is almost the citizens battle hardy trying to survive and make it through. So hopefully, if the Dems do that, there's that question. If they do that, then maybe that message might catch on. But for them, it's a double-edged sword, yeah? Because they don't want to bite the hand that's feeding them. All of them need the money. So the whole system basically needs completely, in my opinion, needs completely overhauling. The second that you can have millions and millions and millions given by individuals and companies and stuff like that, that's not a recipe for transparency. All right, question number 3. So this is coming from Janet Theakston. And she's asked, given that Brexit has been a complete disaster, what do you see in the future for the UK and Europe? But I'm also going to link it in with Nigel Farage, yeah? And this is because Julie TD 986 sorry, 9896. It said, could you guys please do a one card pull on Nigel Farage leaving the UK for good? Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this. You probably haven't seen it, but Nigel Farage has done a big old sob story where he's saying he's going to have to leave the UK because basically he can't get a bank account anymore. The banks have written to him to say, we no longer consider you a viable candidate because you're a PEP. Now, a PEP is someone that can be exposed. It means someone who's been exposed to politics in some kind of way. It could be connected with corruption or espionage and stuff like that. So apparently someone stood up in Parliament and accused Mr. Farage of receiving money from Russia, for his campaigns. Now, he denies this, but he says, nonetheless, the besmirch has stuck. Now, I do not agree with people's bank accounts and all of this kind of stuff being locked down and blah, 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 because that is just too much. They do a lot of that kind of stuff in a certain place in the Far East, which has got a red flag on it with yellow stars, and the name begins with C, and it sounds like China, let's just put it like that way. And when people try to protest there, they lock people's bank accounts down and they stop them traveling on public transport because, like, they've got absolute surveillance state over there with barcode for everything. There's no cash, cashless society and all that kind of stuff, which they're now trying to introduce in the UK. So he's saying, I might have to leave the country because I'm persona non grata because they've closed down my accounts and all that kind of stuff. Now, do I agree with that particular part? No, I don't. Because that, of course, sets a precedent which can be used against everyone else. Do I feel sorry for him, though? No, I do not feel sorry for Farage at all. No, actually, no. Look, part of me does feel a little bit sorry for him in terms of no one wants to be sort of like financially invalidated. However, as you know, Saturn, I said when Saturn goes into sidereal Aquarius, lots and lots of people are going to be getting their karmas, comeuppance. He's now retrograde, review, revise, reassess. So now because look, he's one of the chief architects of Brexit. In fact, if it wasn't for the relentless and continual pressure and the right-wing media putting in on every single bloody channel that would have him, he really did push that Brexit goal thing over the line. Now, he also said, if Brexit fails, I'm going to leave the country, So just so you know, there's plenty of places in Rwanda that might take you, It might take you and your money for us. So there is an element here of karma here. There is. There is. The economic damage, socio-economic standing and reputational damage that has been done to the UK is almost impossible to calculate. We are losing billions each month, billions from lack of investment, issues in terms of cost of living, all of these absurd promises that were made. With was it 350 million each week for the NHS? There'll be no more boats coming, all of this stuff. It's actually gone up. It's all gone the other way, just as I predicted. And the whole thing has been revealed to a sham, even admitted to by Farage himself, who says that Brexit has failed. So that also as well doesn't help, because he's like, well, I was the architect of it all. I've caused all of this economic damage. I'm not saying that Europe is perfect, by the way. I mean, because there's all sorts of other kind of agendas going on. But it's better to have wealth, some wealth and money, so you can push back against these things, because we always had our sovereignty and independence from Europe anyway. We had the best deal going. We had the best deal going. And it's been totally sabotaged. And the likes of Farage, Bagface, has, I could live in Europe before. If I wanted to, I could just literally go live and work in Europe if I wanted to. No visa, nothing. Likewise, the other way. Students now, young people in particular, they need work visas now. They can't do holiday jobs. It's just, and the economic it's just disgraceful. And we're only beginning really to see the full economic fallout now. This is going to affect us for decades. He has affected millions of UK citizens' lives. Millions. Anyway, let's just pull some cards on him and see what's happening with this man, who I feel deserves absolutely everything he gets, because everyone was warned about this. No one can say, oh, well, no one said. Not true. It's being screamed from the rooftops that it was unworkable. And even then, they've not even done the best with the advantages of it. And we're giving away sovereign rights to you-know-who I call Hoover. Yeah? Hoover. You know. And what all their agendas? What was the point? What was the point of Brexit and all that kind of stuff if you're just going to give sovereignty away to democratically unelected people who have diplomatic immunity? What's the point? It was all a sham. It was a whole pile of rotting bollocks, in my opinion. It really was. And sadly, a lot of people gaslit. Well. I think a lot of people are going to be pleased to see the back of this man. Yeah. When he's gone, a lot of people are going to raise a toast. He's caused a lot of damage to the UK, a lot of damage. And of course, you've got the Blancmange who, did his thing. He wrote 2 articles, by the way, Boris Johnson, one for staying in, one for leave. And he chose the leave one because he felt that would make him prime minister. He was obviously right, but look at the cost. So will people be sad to see the back of Farage? No, they're actually going to toast his ruin. What's in the obstacle position? Look, we've got the Ace of Wands back, but this time in the obstacle position. We may as well consider it reversed. If this is a fertile new beginning, this is a yeah, all of his ideas, all of his plans backfiring, things becoming barren, less options going forward. Here in the middle, Major Arcana, Wheel of Fortune. He's in the hands of fate now. Farage, if you're looking at this, you are in the hands of fate. Your life is no longer your own. Yeah? Luckily for you, it's not turned up reversed, yeah? Otherwise, the demon would have been on top. So you never know. You still might be lucky and you still might squeeze out of it. Not that you deserve it, but, there you are. I just have to say what I see. But he's in a state of fate, of karmic consequences, be it good or bad. Look at the next card. Paying for what? All of the delusion. This was all of the illusion and the lies and deceptions around what? Brexit. This is what he's been pumping out. He's the snake oil salesman, the Pied Piper that led a lot of people off the cliff. A lot of these people are still too embarrassed to admit what has happened to our country. Yeah? Which is sad, but people know it in their hearts. But this is him, yeah? So he's got there's lots of things he needs to consider now. He's got to juggle a lot of stuff. Yeah, because it's not just illusions and delusions. It means having to make a lot of choices. So obviously, if he's in a state of, fate and destiny, he's got a lot of choices to make. Is he going to be able to stay in the UK? And the outcome card for him is the King of Cups. So this also speaks as well to his emotions, yeah? I think he's really going to have to reflect now on what he's done, what he's helped facilitate. Because you know what it's like with people. People don't see sense until they start facing consequences. And very often when it comes to these narcissistic politicians, these douchebags, the only time what they actually wake up is when they're hit in the pocket. And he is now, like he said, he's said in his own words, I'm being turned into a non-viable citizen. I do not agree with the methodology because, it's like the equivalent of being disappeared. Without a bank account now, you can't do anything. You can't do anything. You can't buy it. You can't do anything. You may as well be homeless, yeah? So I do think that element is brutal and that does set a precedent, which I don't like. So there's a little bit of compassion that I feel in that sense. However, when we look at the retrogrades, when we look at Saturn doing his work, giving people their just desserts, their karmas, the wake-up calls, wherever Saturn is, he's always holding a stick. Yeah, that's what I always say, by transit or in the natal chart. And a lot of people are getting beatings, yeah? Some people getting blessings as well, though. It's not all horrible. But for Farage, With people celebrating, toasting his ruin, I don't see many coming to his rescue, but you never know. He might still be lucky. Oh, let's see what Shakespeare has to say about Farage. There we are. Just so you guys know, this is Shakespeare, The Bard's Guide to Abuses and Affronts. Yes, so the link is in my videos, particularly on the HoGaLe videos. You can see it there. So let's just get to the right pages. And I'm gonna, there I am, close my eyes and let's see what the Bard thinks about Farage. Let him say it, you know, rather than me. See what the Bard's thoughts are. Wow, look at this. All right, here we are. I'm going to read that. His treasons will sit blushing in his face. Wow. From Richard II. His treasons will sit blushing in his face. And then on the next page from Hamlet, it says, one may smile and be a villain. Wow. Hamlet. One of the things that was effective about Farage is that everyone was like, I like to go for a pint with him. And he was always smiley, always holding a pint, always, whoa. Look at that. And now he's got egg on his face because he's had to admit that Brexit hasn't worked. His bank accounts are being shut down in the UK. And there, his treasons will sit blushing in his face, because that's exactly what he is, in my mind, and Shakespeare agrees. He's a traitor and should be treated as such. I'm not saying Europe is perfect, but we're now in a ruinous position. We're much worse off now. And everyone was told, and he was all smiling with the pints and all that kind of stuff. One may smile and be a villain. There we go. As usual, the Bard absolutely mops up when it comes to that. Right, let's go to question number 4. Now, we're going back to America again, and this is a Duck L'Orange question. And for those of you who may not know who I refer to as Duck L'Orange, it is Donald Trump. Now, this question is coming from at TR8970. Yeah, you will know who you are. And they say, thank you for your insights. Trump is going to have back-to-back court dates very soon between indictments, depositions, and trials. Will he cry political interference to try and get all of them delayed until after 2024? How will it go? Will the sheer volume prevent him from doing rallies? Well, look, we already know, really, in many ways, the answer to that question, isn't it? Which is that with Duck L'Orange, it is lie and delay, lie and delay, lie and delay. Now, does Duck L'Orange lie absolutely about every single iota? No, not necessarily. But 98% of the time, he's lying. To find out if he's ever told the truth about anything, you have to look back in retrospect, and often you have to look back a few years and you have to go, oh, okay, you didn't lie on that one. But when he does tell the truth, it often embarrasses a lot of people. Let's put it that way, as we are finding out with this whole scenario with these documents. But he's just such an outrage. It's just extraordinary. However, what I find even more extraordinary, because obviously we know Duck L'Orange very well now, and I know his chart, it's his enablers. It's those people that are still supporting him, still saying that, or trying to make up excuses for him when he's on tape. Yeah, on tape. And you can hear he even admits, I was rustling the papers. Oh, I'm boiling up now. See, this is what happens when I do my astrology and tarot stuff. I just start to heat up. So let me just take this off because I'm absolutely boiling. Oh. I'm not going to put the fan on because it makes me cough. So let's see. Well, Will he cry political interference to get them all delayed until after 2024? Yes, he will, because he's already doing that. Yeah, so we can answer that question. It's in his interest to get things delayed as much as possible. Will Judge Cannon help him out? We will have to see. That will depend on the retrograde motion of Venus, because Venus is going to be representing that for Dr. Larange in his chart. But anyway, let's see here. I can't believe how quickly the time has gone. We'll have to finish on Elon. But let's pull some cards here for Dr. Larange. How will it go? Let's see how these cases will go. I mean, I just see the pressure piling up. As you guys know, I've said the wheels really come off for Dr. Larange in October 2023. When I was saying this 18 months ago, no one wanted to hear it and I got a lot of stick. Hasn't this not proved it to be the case? I said from January 23, I said the accountability, even for Trump, will go up. And that's what's happened. But October will probably be even worse. And of course, we're going to have the eclipses as well. All right, so let's see. Let's see what the cards have to say. Situation with Dr. Larange. And I hope you're enjoying the show. I know the ladies aren't here, but I really wanted to get your questions answered. Let's see what's going on for Dr. Larange bag. Well, okay. Do you remember I said once upon a time he might make a run for it? Remember that? I think it's too late because he's got Secret Service and stuff like that. But let me tell you, with these cards here, he is really, really thinking about it. The Emperor. This is him, yeah? This is him in terms of his status in his own mind as president, yeah? Well, he even knows he's former president now because he's admitted it on tape, yeah? He said, when I was the president, I could declassify these documents, but now I can't, yeah? So there is a bit of reality that's come in there. So this is him, yeah, in his role as, you know, as a patriarch and stuff like that. But let's not forget the Emperor, that you see that Aries energy. Remember where the eclipses are happening. Remember I said they're happening in Aries and sidereal Aries and sidereal Libra. The Emperor can also deal with patriarchy, rules, regulations, stability and stuff like that. But the shadow of it can also be war, conflict and stuff like that. So he's trying to think, what can I do with the little power that I have left? He's up at night. Look, worrying. Yeah, worrying. Trying to figure stuff out, his machinations, because he knows he's caught on tape. He's caught on tape. The evidence is piling, and yet there's another tape apparently that we've not even heard, and he's probably even more worried about that one. Look at the middle of the reading. He wants to escape. He wants to move to smoother waters, but he's feeling trapped, isn't he? Feeling trapped because he's like, oh, yeah, Secret Service. Very hard to hide if you're Jacques Larange. Also as well, if he escapes, it completely torpedoes his argument of innocence and stuff like that, because why would he run away? If he runs away, it confirms absolutely everything. But so many planets are going to be going retrograde, he may consider it. Reviews, revise, reassess. He is considering it strongly. Why? Because he fears the judgment. Look at that, major arcana, the judgment. That is the clarion call that is coming out for him right now, because the judgment has actually started. We're not waiting for it now. He is now facing the accountability and stuff like that. He's not yet locked up, and I'm still not sure about that one. I still think house arrest or something like that, or a specialized military prison, which is, I think, is really probably put the willies up in. So here we see the judgment has begun, major arcana. So what he's going to be doing behind the scenes is going to be trying to make as many deals as he can. If he does flee, he's going to have to pack up some of those, more of those boxes, if they still have them. No, I think would they have seized them now? No, I think they would have seized them now. And whatever photocopies and microfilms and whatever else he's got, yeah, on his laptops and whatever, because obviously he's got more, maybe a bit more in Bedminster, and who knows, maybe something is down there in Ivana's, you know what. Anyway, he is looking to make deals. This could also be as well with trying to make deals with the DOJ to get lesser offenses. This also shows as well people are making deals with the DOJ to lessen their offenses. So look, Dr. Larange here is in a real pickle. If he does flee, he's going to have to flee, of course, to a country that is going to favor him. So it's probably be Saudi Arabia or somewhere like that, you know, with the old golfing doodads. No time to talk about SCOTUS. Maybe I'll just save that for next week short. Let's hear Brendak 1371. And what they are saying is, Hogarth, we really need to talk about Elon and Twitter. Oh my God, this guy's just ridiculous. What the hell is going on with this individual? He's now trying to limit the amount of tweets people can see. I truly despair. Thank you. Also on a national holiday weekend in USA, and I'm hopping mad. Now, you remember what his whole shtick was about. Now, as you know, I'm not the biggest fan. Again, I can't dismiss absolutely everything he says, because when he speaks about AI, saying that AI is one of the biggest threats, even more so than climate change, he really does have a point, because that's going to advance even quicker. The climate obviously is a massive problem, but the AI thing could literally decimate people's jobs and futures and the whole shebang. And imagine if AI gets hold of nuclear codes, yeah? They'll be like, blend with us, or we push the button, yeah? Because look, we need to sleep, we need to eat, people need to reproduce, people need to pee and poop, and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, if you're AI, you're not affected by radiation. Yeah, nuclear fallout is not an issue for you. So we could be in a situation where AI might seize some nuclear codes to whatever and be like, unless you blend with us, we're going to press the button. Or they might be just like, you know what, we're just going to press the button anyway. Who knows? Because of these foolish people who get obsessed and intoxicated by their own machinations, creating stuff. I always say the height of stupidity is making yourself extinct or creating something more intelligent than yourself that can get rid of you. Yeah, anyway, that's just my opinion. So Elon, now remember Elon, his whole shtick was like, I'm going to go on Twitter and it's all going to be freedom of speech and blah, blah, blah. Of course, he says nothing about China. Yeah, because they're not really big on freedom of speech, but you know, they like his Tesla cars and all that kind of stuff, and he's on first name terms. He's literally on first name terms with much of the regime. So there is a contradiction in there, because obviously he's not talking about the infringements of freedom of speech and media and stuff there, but it looks like maybe he's learning. Maybe he's learning from his friends. So now there's this restriction. Apparently you can't, you know, you can only look at 600 whatever. I mean, I deleted my Twitter account last year when he started treating his employees really bad. I was like, I'm not having that. I'm not having that. I just don't want to be associated. So anyway, let's see what's going on with Elon. And then I'm gonna have to. Can you believe it? Oh my God, the time's gone so quickly. I've got to try and make sure this video is not too long. I just got talking. You know, it's like I'm on the HoGaLe. Elon. We'll see what Shakespeare thinks as well. R.E.T. Typical. All right, here we go. Here's Elon with his Twitter, all trying to pretend it's all sweet and nice. Yeah, this can normally, like 10 of cups can mean, you know, wishful more the happy family, happy ever after and stuff like that. But when we're talking about these sketchy people, it's often the fake version of that. So this is him trying to do this fake family. Everything's all nice and sweet on Twitter. Yeah, but look what turns up in the obstacle position. 7 of Swords. This is the thief. Yeah. Doing something dodgy, trying to get away with something, stealing something. He doesn't steal absolutely everything. You see, there's still two swords left, but the camp is compromised. When they wake up in the morning, they'll realize they don't have enough weapons. So this is these limitations. Why is he limiting this stuff? Yeah, because effectively that is a curtailing on freedom of speech. And remember, it was all about the freedom of speech taking over Twitter. I mean, I saw through the BS from the get-go. But, you know, people don't want to hear it. And all I do is I just bide my time. Just be like, look, because when you look at people's charts and you read it from the Vedic stuff, you can see it all there. And he's a bit of a dodgy guy. But anyway, look at that. So that's him literally getting away with stuff or stealing or having malintent. However, the sword of truth is in the middle. Yeah, so remember, he was all supposed to be about free speech, but this is also as well. People now with this, people maybe at last might be starting to wake up about this guy. Yeah, just like, oh, he's done all this. Yeah, he's done a lot of stuff. But he's doing a lot of dodgy stuff as well. And these people, they just need to be called out. Yeah, called out. Why? Poverty card has come back again. Yeah, people feeling shut out and put out in the cold. People are like, wait a minute, he's limiting this, limiting that, changed up all the ad structure. You know, a lot of people in the media are saying they barely use their Twitter account anymore. Look, a lot of people stay on Twitter. I can understand, particularly if they've got a big following and stuff like that. But I think increasingly these moves that he's doing is making people feel isolated on the platform. So the future for Twitter could be quite interesting. I think it's going to carry on, but it's going to be a bit more embattled, and people just need to make a choice. You're either going to stay on Twitter or you're not. Yeah, you know, when it comes to Elon Musk. And let's close the show and see what the Bard, yeah, thinks about Muskrat. And let's see if he does that fighting thing with Zuckerbin bag. I don't know. I often say to my friends, there's a lot of bored billionaires looking for thrills out there, as we've seen recently, even though tragically, yeah, with the Titanic, bottom of the ocean and all that kind of stuff. You know, when you got more money than God, you know, it can really mess with the mind. And there's so much work to be done here on Earth. So many positive things that could be done with all of this money. But anyway, never mind. That's for other times. Humanity, I think we'll make it through in the end, but dicey. Okay, what does the Bard think of Elon Musk? Right? I've read this one before. Wow. Oh. So the Bard said, thou art a most notable coward, an infinite and endless liar, an hourly promise breaker, the owner of not one good quality. I've read that out before, but that's what the Bard is saying on that for someone else. And that's all well that ends well. Let's see what's on the way. Oh, look at this. On the other page, because I always read 2 pages, it says, away, you cut purse, you rascal, you filthy bung, away. And that's from Henry IV, part 2. I think in many ways, you know, I think the Bard has said it all, as always. I will leave it there, folks. Look, this video is 1:07. So thank you so much for tuning in. Apologies again for what happened, but as you can see, it was a tragedy, sadly, that happened. Please don't forget to like and subscribe if you've enjoyed my content, and thank you so much for the support. I will do a midweek Wednesday video where I'm going to talk about the next stage of the retrogrades and all of that kind of stuff. And then, of course, HoGaLe will be next week after that. I'm certain about. This is the thing now. I'm not even going to leave London. I'm not even going to leave London if I've got a show. I can't have that happen again. That was just ridiculous. It ended up being like an 8-hour delay or something like that in the end. Anyway, I will leave it there. Thank you so much, everyone, and I will see you soon. I hope you found that interesting. Let me know in the comments. All right, bye for now. Cheers.